Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have kids, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
You sure? It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the morning grind. I'm back. Yes, I was seeing that there was some discussion in the Discord, and I want to write in on that. That it's the Wednesdays have become a hard turnaround. If when we're working, when I'm up past midnight doing the doing table talk for some of our deep dives, when it happens, when it goes that late, it is difficult to be back here in the morning on Wednesdays. And I hate that because I like doing the morning grind every morning, but often after the deep dives on Tuesday night, it's often very difficult for me also just get to sleep. So it's not like I turn off the camera and then go, oh, well, all right, time to time to head straight to bed and then wake back up. Those things fire me up. They give me energy. Those give me energy like these do. The purpose of the morning grind is also to get energy and gather energy. And that's certainly the case on Tuesday nights when Doug and I are going till midnight. And then 2 o'clock in the morning comes around, or 3 o'clock, and I'm still wide awake. So we'll see. I would really love to be on a Tuesday, Thursday schedule for the morning for table talk, and I was talking to Brianna about this. Was this yesterday or was this 2 days ago? This is now Thursday, and I can't believe this is already the 28th of September. So I was talking to her about potentially coming on board to help out, get these shows basically on schedule, to help prep them and do basically the administrative side. Because I'd like to do Tuesday and Thursdays with the morning grind, and I'd like to have more guests on Thursdays. But the problem is spending the time booking the guests and making sure the guests are booked on Thursday. So maybe she'd be willing to come in and help out with that. And I'd like to. Now I'm thinking that perhaps Sunday would be a good day for dinner and a board game. So maybe Tuesday, Thursday table talks, and then then Sundays for dinner and board game. At least in an ideal world, we will see. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, James and Robert and Sable and Lynn. Yeah, I think that is what he says, I think, too. It's all Sarnt. Sarnt is a contraction used specifically in the U.S. Army for sergeant, unless he says it more than once. Oh, yeah, so that's that. Yeah, at least once I think he's talking about Sarnt. Robert says, we have characters leveling up with XP and HP increments, and we have monsters and other NPCs in rooms right now. Want it so more NPCs can be added to the party on fly in addition to combat options. Hey, Tomocrat. Yeah, I think so. Mine, especially, I thought it was a Southern contraction from the Army for Sarnt, because I looked that up when what they were saying in that movie. James says, I promise you, Sarnt is real. In the Army, they don't really like Sarge. It sounds too familiar and friendly, so the enlisted found a workaround in Sarnt. Tomocrat says, did I take a shopping cart for the cultists? I borrowed one, and I went over to the local Piggly Wiggly, which is what we have here. And so I went over there and I asked the manager if I could borrow one. So I didn't just take it. That's the Army. That's the film is Black Hawk Down. Oh, in the script it says Sarge. Interesting. All right. So I did have a great time last Tuesday with going over. I can't believe that we did over 5 hours on Star Trek 6 and only did the first half an hour of the movie. That's pretty incredible. I knew this was going to be a big one. It's like, what movie do we want to talk about? But I didn't have any idea it was going to go that long. Pretty incredible. I have also still been writing. I've been trying to get writing done. I hope all of you are also being productive. I am now on the last 3 sections, and it's not like I haven't started yet. So the last 3 sections of the Christmas story are now in process. Everything else, I think, should be right. It's completely readable. I would be able to send that out. Of course, I'll look at it once more when it's over. But that has also still been consuming most of my time. I didn't get to work on it on Tuesday because I was preparing for the discussion of Star Trek 6, but then I got back to it, and I'm looking forward to getting it done. I've been really enjoying writing it. The War of Art, it has definitely been time to get back to that, overcome resistance, and get this done. I'm gonna have to look closely at the timeline because I'm a bit over time to get it done because it ended up being a complete, basically rewrite of that entire book. But we will see. The review, Robert says, the review of Star Trek 6 will take until the end of history. It could. It is an incredible film. So, and in fact, next week we're supposed to have a guest. We put down on our we were supposed to have a guest on Tuesday night. Brianna was talking about that before she and I started talking about trying to get more regular on Tuesday and Thursday, and perhaps having guests on Thursdays. But I got to reach out to somebody, but we'll return to it in a couple of weeks. Okay. Let's take a look at the War of Art. And I don't know why. I think this happened last time that it didn't. I don't know why my ebook reader doesn't come up. All right, let's restart. And let's redo our reading from the Book of Art. Everybody got your favorite beverage ready? I've got my canteen cup full of lemonade. That was sitting here from last Tuesday. Well, I hate it when I have things prepped and then I actually don't, as it turns out. Let me try one other thing. We're going to be looking at the World of Tolkien recipe this morning. Oh, don't tell me I'm not going to be able to do this. Well, all right. I'm not going to try to figure this out at the moment. Yeah, I know. It feels like that's what it's supposed to be. PH Arbex. Good morning, PH. Good morning. Well, that's frustrating. James says I'm struggling with that coffee. Yeah, I should have had coffee this morning. All I had was this lemonade. I'd really like to have some coffee this morning. I hate that I'm off the schedule. I'm off the sleeping schedule, and I have been for months. Okay. Well, okay. We'll have to do the War of Art next time. I can't get it to come up. We've got a problem. Anyway, but we can breathe and sip, and then we will go to our book over here. So here we go. Let's breathe and sip 2 deep breaths, deep inhales, complete exhales, and then take a sip of your favorite breakfast this morning. So here we go. And sip. There we go. All right. Oh, by the way, so there's something else I wanted to bring up before I start this book. Is that we found something. Doug sent me a link the other day, yesterday. And I meant to put a link to this in Discord. I just heard the Discord noise, which is what made me think of this. I need to put this in the Discord. Of course. I see a couple of people. Oh, right here. All right. So check this out. Somebody has done. Well, it's that I can't even get them to come up on the screen. It's not like they're not just coming up. It's not that it's not just coming up in the software. It's that I can't open the software, the ebook reader at all. Unless I could do that maybe on the iPad down here. But check this out. Somebody has done a deep fake of Kirstie Alley as Saavik in Star Trek 3. And he's putting together this. I think he says he's going to do a complete fan edit. Stay tuned for his the fan edit. So right now, he just has all of the scenes with Kirstie Alley as Saavik in Star Trek 3. Isn't that cool? Look how great that is. I mean, you can probably tell in some scenes, like this scene, I think is one of my favorite ones. I mean, that one looks real. Some of the other ones, you can tell there's a deep fake going on. But that's pretty cool. And of course, I do have a little bit of different feelings on it because what was the name of the actress who played Saavik in Star Trek 3? I mean, this is, it's her performance. So the movie didn't have her in it, didn't have Kirstie Alley in it. But on the other hand, this is pretty cool. So I'll check this out. I'll put this link down for people to check out later. Deepfake. Savick deepfake. There's the link. You should be able to find it pretty easily, though. But I thought that was pretty cool. So somebody has done it. So there might be an entire show out. Let's see. Okay, so actually the War of Art is up here on the iPad in front of me. So let me see where we were. Resistance is impersonal. Resistance is infallible. I think we did that. So according to the War of Art here, resistance is universal. So we do get to read here. Resistance is universal. We're wrong if we think we're the only ones who struggle with resistance. Everyone who has a body struggles with resistance. Resistance never sleeps. Henry Fonda was still throwing up before each stage performance. I think we read this, but we'll do this again. Henry Fonda was still throwing up before each stage performance, even though he was 75. In other words, fear doesn't go away. The warrior and the artist live by the same code of necessity, which dictates the battle must be fought anew every day. Resistance plays for keeps. Resistance's goal is not to wound or disable. Resistance aims to kill. Its target is the epicenter of our being, our genius, our soul, the unique and priceless gift that we are put on this earth to give, and that no one else has but us. Resistance means business. When we fight it, we are in a war to the death. Resistance is fueled by fear. Resistance has no strength of its own. Every ounce of juice it possesses comes from us. We feed it with our power. We feed it with power by our fear of it. So resistance has no strength of its own. Every ounce of juice it possesses comes from us. We feed it with power by our own fear of it. Master that fear, and we conquer resistance. Resistance only opposes in one direction. Resistance obstructs movement only from a lower sphere to a higher. It kicks in when we seek to pursue a calling in the arts, launch an innovative enterprise, or evolve to a higher station morally, ethically, or spiritually. So if you're in Calcutta with the Mother Teresa Foundation and you're thinking of bolting to launch a career in telemarketing, relax. Resistance will give you a free pass. All right, so there we go. So we have an alternate way, just in case for some reason the reader doesn't come up on the screen, on the computer for some reason. Now, Lynn says, if you can tell what's going on, it's a shallow fake. Robin Curtis. Thank you. Yes, Robin Curtis. Well, I saw the eyebrow situation, that they changed the eyebrows, but it made me want to go back and take a look and see what Savick's eyebrows were like in Star Trek 2. Did she have Vulcan eyebrows? Did she have turned up eyebrows? I can't remember, because obviously the difference here between Robin Curtis and Robin Curtis and Kirstie Alley. So we'll have to see. I've got to check that. She probably did. You guys are probably already checking. It's a little eerie. Looks like Kirstie Alley, but has a Robin Curtis mannerisms. Well, I don't know if you're going to be able to change that. And I mean, sometimes I think her face looks too smooth. Some of the ones like where she's on board the starship look the best, because I think. But I still think it's pretty amazing tech. Zero the Blade says, seems like the best way to deal with resistance is to YOLO it and see what happens. All right, let's get on with this. Oh, hey, okay, so Sable has information. Hey, say, what's one of the reasons I didn't know Kirstie Alley was playing a Vulcan until they said so? She does have arched eyebrows in Star Trek 2. Okay, so that eyebrow change is deliberate here. All right, let's get on with it. Let's see what was going on with the World of Tolkien cookbook. Bring this over. And where are the notes? Well, we got paper right there we can take notes on. All right. Oh, no, they might be right here. Oh, yep, right here. So we had just gotten to luncheon. Lunch is a rather overlooked meal in our real world, often reduced to a quick sandwich and a cup of coffee at a desk. In the Shire, however, lunch is an important meal, as Peregrine Took is quick to point out on the Hobbit's first full day's march after leaving Hobbiton, nearer the beginning of The Lord of the Rings. The road may go on forever, so Bilbo is fond of pointing out, but no one, least of all the lazy Pippin, can do without rest and a proper bite to eat. So what do we have here? Warm fig and prosciutto salad with blue cheese. This salad is perfect for eating al fresco on summer nights. It's just as delicious without the prosciutto if you'd prefer a vegetarian option. Tolkien wrote that his Númenórean civilization was partly inspired by ancient Egypt. You can see inspiration in the names of some of the Númenórean kings, such as Ar-Pharazôn, and the Valley of the Tombs at the foot of the sacred mountain in the center of Númenor. Meneltara, which resembles the real-world Egyptian Valley of the Kings with its elaborate royal tombs. In honor of Númenor's spiritual connection to ancient Egypt, this dish features figs, which were popular with the Egyptians. Savick just went up for pre-order from X06. If there are any Star Trek collectors in the chat, it looks incredible. Are you talking about it's not an action figure, but like a figurine of her? I think I saw something about that come by. I saw something of that. For some reason, was seeing Savick on one of my feeds, and it was some type of collectible figure. Sable Phoenix says, many cultures make lunch the biggest meal of the day. In Spain, for example, the siesta usually lasts a couple of hours. James says, man, lunch is how I time my work day. Isn't morning, it's before lunch, likewise afternoon and after lunch. Lunch is very important. See, sometimes my meal is basically after the morning grind. So it's kind of like at my time zone, like a brunch. Yeah, I know. That doesn't really work for hiking across Middle Earth. But that's okay. They don't all have to be traveler's meals. Museum quality. That's exactly what I said. X06 does museum quality 1/6 scale figures. That's exactly what I saw then. Someone must have, some advertising agency must know that I had done Star Trek. We've just been talking about Star Trek, and so I got that advertisement or whatever it was. Walnut, pear, and green leaf salad. This is a very elegant-looking salad, though if you're pushed for time, you could simply use a vegetable peeler to shave whisper-thin slices of Parmesan over the salad just before serving. Salad is among the many refreshments requested by the dwarves who land unexpectedly on Bilbo's doorstep at the beginning of The Hobbit. They were likely present with other meals, such as with Tom Bombadil and Goldberry's vegetarian table, and larger feasts where all manner of food were served. While very few characters in Tolkien's legendarium are strictly vegetarian, vegetables seem to be enjoyed with gusto by the heroes of every one of the free people, be they man, elf, dwarf, or hobbit. Foraged salad. Well, maybe this is more on the go. For a substantial meal, thinly slice 3 chorizo sausages diagonally and fry in a hot pan until golden and crispy. Drain in kitchen paper and add to the salad. The Range of the North and men descended from the Dunedain of the lost kingdom of Arnor, who patrol the former lands and guard its remaining fragments, such as the Shire and Breeland. When we first meet Aragorn at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, he's living as a ranger, wandering Eriador and protecting the country from orcs and wolves. As a ranger, Aragorn has experience living off the land, foraging for food, and finding healing herbs such as athlas or kingsfoil. This salad makes a fresh and vibrant summer dish and uses gathered herbs like those Aragorn may have used to brighten his campfire meals. So this has frozen peas, broad beans, snow pea tendrils, small handful of mint, dill, parsley, finely chopped, and feta cheese, dressed with Dijon mustard, olive oil, Chardonnay vinegar, and black pepper. Pippin's Minas Tirith lunch. See, I think this book is definitely like what Sable was talking about, be inspired by rather than everything trying to be as accurate as possible. I haven't gotten a chance to look for a more accurate lembas recipe yet. So Pippin's Minas Tirith lunch. Based on that British favorite, the Ploughman's lunch, this is more a matter of assembling than a recipe. Just scale the quantities up or down depending on the number of people you're feeding and arrange the ingredients decoratively on a wooden board. Try to vary the height and color of ingredients to add visual interest. You can also add different cheeses and preserves, crackers, pâté, and other seasonal fruit, or pâté, whatever takes your fancy. So serves two. This says, okay, so Pippin's lunch is 4 to 6 thick slices of crusty bread or 4 white elven bread rolls. We did have the white elven bread rolls before. Cheddar cheese, 6 slices of cold rare roast beef or ham, 2 slices of pork pie, 2 hard-boiled eggs, 4 pickled onions, 2 celery stalks, preferably still with their leaves, 4 radishes, 2 apples. The problem with all this is gathering it all. I just don't keep things like the, all these different kinds of things in my kitchen. I barely keep anything in my kitchen. It's a problem, actually. But the 4-Hour Chef talks about that like, hey, let's learn cooking. Let's do some recipes. And then first of all, you got to figure out what all these things are, and then where you go and find them. Oh, it's a meat paste. Okay. Lynn says, in The Hobbit, Bilbo nibbles on a bit of sorrel while they're traveling and he's hungry. I suppose that's not technically a salad because it's only one ingredient. Right, exactly. Daniel says, oh, yes. Just let me go forage with that Dijon mustard or forage for that Dijon mustard. And a bottle of wild vinegar. A bottle of vinegar out in the wild. But you got to make up, okay, but see, this you'd have to make up some elven bread rolls or just get crusty bread, which does seem more Minas Tirith. But like 2 slices of pork pie. Like, where do you get pork pie? Oh, I got to make those up. Let me whip up some pork pie to add for this lunch. Tolkien depicts Peregrine Took not only as the youngest of the hobbits and the most foolhardy, but also the hungriest. After Pippin has been introduced to Denethor, the ruling steward of Gondor, he is placed under the care of Beregond, a captain of the guard of Minas Tirith. Ever eager for his next meal, Pippin pleads for food and is given a nuncheon, noonday meal of bread, butter, cheese, and apples, all washed down with a flagon of ale. This kind of meal would have been common for farm workers in real-world England from 14th century onward. Popularly known as the ploughman's lunch, the traditional combination of bread, cheese, pickles, and beer was, in the 20th century, reimagined as a popular pub lunch in the United Kingdom. Honey-spiced carrot and parsnip star. Roast stuffed pepper flames. See, that's the one that's supposed to be inspired by the Balrog over here. But those are the ones that are least interesting to me. Now, here's the Prancing Pony's potato and garlic soup. A mug of this hearty potato soup with its enticing aroma of smoked garlic is just the thing to wrap chilled hands around on a blustery day. Serve it with some warm, elvish white bread rolls for a filling meal. After a long day's journey through the Barrow Downs, the roaring fire and pints of ale at the Prancing Pony and Brie reinvigorate the weary, sacred party of hobbits. We like to think that one of the foods waiting to greet the weary travelers at this venerable Arnorian institution would have been a comforting bowl of hot soup. Oh, so he doesn't actually mention hot soup? Perhaps the soup of the day at the Pony changed with the seasons, but this might well have been one of its more popular winter warmers. Let's see if this one sounds like something that would be at the Prancing Pony. 50 grams unsalted butter, 1 large onion sliced, 2 garlic cloves crushed, flurry potatoes, peeled and cut into small cubes, 1 liter vegetable stock, 1/2 teaspoon smoked sea salt, 125 milliliters milk, 4 tablespoons fresh herbs such as parsley, thyme, and chives, plus extra snippets of chives to garnish, and black pepper. So you're supposed to melt the butter in a large saucepan, add the onion and garlic, and cook over a medium heat for 3 to 4 minutes until softened. Stir the potatoes, cover and cook for 5 minutes. Add the stock and season. Bring to a boil, then reduce heat. Cover and simmer for 30 minutes until the potatoes are tender. Transfer to a food processor or blender and blend until smooth. Return to the pan, stir in the milk and herbs, and reheat gently. Serve garnished with snippeted chives and black pepper. Okay. Now, I don't suppose there would be a blender or food processor in the Prancing Pony, but I'll take that one. Pork pie is delicious, Lynn says. I make one with pork, diced apples, onions, and sage. You know, I know so little about it. See, what was its recipe over here? Didn't it say page 62? Pork pie. A recipe for all occasions, this pork pie, though it takes a while to make, is a great part of a buffet, goes down well as a late morning snack, and is perfect for picnics and lunches with diced or sliced tomatoes and pickles. Try it with the sweet pickled cucumbers on page 59. In the beginning of The Hobbit, Bomber, the fattest of the 13 dwarves who makes up Thorin and company, puts in an order for pork pie and salad from Bilbo shortly after arriving in Bag End. Both pigs and boars appear occasionally in Tolkien's Middle-earth books, notably the monstrous boar of Everholt, slain by King Folka of Rohan, though it's mostly in the form of bacon that we get to meet them. So 12 pies, 1 bunch of sprig of onions finely chopped, pinch of chili flakes, pork loin, bacon finely chopped, chives chopped, small bunch of parsley chopped, salt and pepper, 2 quail eggs. Now, where am I going to find quail eggs? Quail eggs, soft boiled and peeled, or 1 egg cut into slices. We used to have quail. Oh, got the coffee now? Water boiled, AeroPress. I have my coffee. Hopefully I didn't miss anything too delicious. Nope, I think all good. So for the pastry, flour, salt, butter, tablespoon of water. I don't know that I've had pork pie. Maybe I have, but I know I haven't ever made it. Do you use the quail eggs? Anyway, so where were we? The garlic soup, that sounded pretty good. Oh, the Barrow Downs. The soup of story. This soup makes good use of all the odds and ends you may have laying around. You can experiment with different flavors by adding whatever you have at hand. If you'd like a chunkier version of this fresh-tasting soup, don't blend it. And if you like, stir in a dollop of pesto before serving. To keep it vegan, leave out the creme fraiche. The creme fraiche. Lots of words in here I've never said before. Tolkien had a striking metaphor for thinking about how storytelling draws on a wide range of influences. In one of his letters, he compares an author inventing a story to someone making a soup. An author's story is made up of a hodgepodge of sorts of memories and odds and ends of knowledge, mixing together and blending into something astonishing and new. Even if some of the ingredients can be identified, the ingredients are less important to the soup or story than the final flavor. So this is olive oil, 1 leek, 1 large potato, vegetable stock, mixed summer vegetables such as peas, asparagus, broadleans, and courgettes, chopped mint, cream fraiche is made from cream and buttermilk. I thought that someone would have talked about that. Thought it might be Sable. It's made from cream and buttermilk. It's like a thinner sour cream. Two tablespoons chopped mint. Okay, so we said that. And then the cream here. To serve, salt and pepper. Heat the oil in a medium saucepan and fry the leek for 3 to 4 minutes until softened. Add the potato and stock to the pan and cook for 10 minutes. Add all the remaining vegetables and the mint, then bring to the boil. Reduce the heat and simmer for 10 minutes. Transfer the soup to a blender or food processor. It's big on blending the soups, and blend until smooth. Return the soup to the pan. Add the cream. If using and seasoning to taste with salt and pepper, heat through gently and serve with warm flatbread. Oh, good. We're all fish. We'll take it. Cream fresh or creme fraiche? Thank you, Sable. It's pronounced creme fraiche. Ask your fishmonger for sushi-grade salmon for the best and safest results. You could also use smoked salmon for this recipe. How often do I go down to my fishmonger? Not all that often. Sushi-grade salmon for the best and safest results. You can also use smoked salmon for this recipe. Gollum mentions fish rather often in Tolkien's books. They're the answer to one of the riddles he poses to Bilbo in The Hobbit, and he mentions his love for fish when talking about food with Sam on their journey to Mordor. He's very clear, however, that cooking any food, meat or fish, ruins it. Raw fish, properly prepared, does have a wonderful and delicate flavor when it's very fresh. This recipe takes its inspiration from Japanese cuisine for a fresh, tasty dish that might convince you that Gollum has a point. I've never tried to make sushi myself. Sushi rice, tablespoons of rice wine vinegar, castor sugar, pickled ginger chopped, wasabi, cucumber, skinless salmon cut into bite-sized pieces, avocado peeled, stoned, and cut into small cubes, sprig of onions finely sliced, tablespoon of roasted sesame seeds to garnish. Cook the rice according to the instructions on the packet. Meanwhile, put the vinegar and sugar in a small saucepan and heat gently, stirring to dissolve the sugar. Turn off the heat, add the pickled ginger and wasabi, and leave to cool. Cut the cucumber in half lengthwise and scoop out the seeds. Slice the flesh finely and add to the cooled vinegar mix. When the rice is cooked, transfer to a dish. Strain the vinegar mixture over it, serving the cucumber, stir, and leave to cool. Reserving the cucumber. Strain the vinegar mixture over the dish, reserving the cucumber, stir, and leave to cool. Transfer the cooled rice into a large salad bowl and combine gently with cucumber, salmon, avocados, and spring onions. Top with toasted sesame seeds and serve. I guess this is in... Yeah, I know. It doesn't. That's where I was going with this. If you can't find sushi grade, go kosher. Sushi just means seafood. Sashimi is specifically raw sushi. That's what I thought. That the sashimi is raw, because sushi doesn't have to be raw, right? But yeah, sushi just doesn't have that Middle Earth vibe for me. It really doesn't. But I suppose if you are... I mean, I can see going through this with like a kid, especially if they wanted to learn how to cook, or when you're going through Middle Earth. So if they want something inspired by the different things, Well, I suppose the sushi here works. Well, a lot of this is. That's my problem with cooking. It's a pain to make, to gather everything and make. That was something that the 4-hour chef. We may have to look at the 4-hour chef later. That the 4-hour chef was trying to solve. Gathering everything and trying to cook everything. Easterling tea marinated trout. Okay. Alqualdion grilled scallops with pesto. Oh, as in Alqualond, the great city of the elves built by the Teleri. Okay, sea scallops. Greyhaven garlicky grilled mussels. Umbrian prawn and monkfish skewers. Lots of seafood here. Mirkwood bat wings. Black food gel makes these bat wings a conventionally dark and scary hue, but for something a little less frightening, you can simply omit the food coloring and still enjoy the Asian-inspired flavors of this dish. Now, that sounds like something you'd have on Halloween with the kids. That's it. I made pasta with tomato sauce and meat ragu just because of this grind. Now I'll devour it. As Bilbo and the dwarves learned the hard way in The Hobbit, if you light a fire in Mirkwood at night, you will immediately attract thousands of moths with huge black bats hot on their trail. Oh, I was just thinking, if we've seen anything that might have at least been a potential for dinner and a board game, one of the soups is probably best. The soup of story. Because you could make a soup and have a lot of it for people when people are coming over to play a board game. So the soup of story, or actually, didn't we also have, yeah, the Prancing Ponies potato and garlic soup. I'm going to at least make a note of that one. Prancing Ponies, but on the whole, we haven't found very much this time. This cookbook hasn't been as good for this as I was kind of hoping. Well, yes. Okay, that would honestly, for an in-person dinner board game, I'd recommend charcuterie. Yeah, that would be a good one if you're trying to shoot it in person. You're right. I haven't seen anything like shepherd's pie yet. So what are these bat wings? Not these, but this could be a fun Halloween thing. However, so thousands of moths, like we said, okay, if you light a fire in Mirkwood at night, you will immediately attract thousands of moths with huge bat wings hot on their trail. However, we like to think that you can use this to your advantage if your suppliers have otherwise run low and you catch a few for your supper. When marinated and roasted, your bat wings will be crispy and delectable. 20 minutes, prep time to cook 20 minutes plus 1 to 2 hours marinating. Ingredients: 8 large chicken wings. Oh, they're chicken wings. 8 large chicken wings, 100 grams each. For the marinade, 1 clove garlic, 1 piece of fresh root ginger peeled and chopped, juice and finely grate zest of 2 limes, 2 tablespoons dark soy sauce, 2 tablespoons peanut oil, ground cinnamon, ground turmeric, tablespoon honey, 3 drops of black food gel, and salt. Soak 8 bamboo or skewers in cold water for 30 minutes. Then place the marinade ingredient in blender or food processor and blend until smooth. Arrange the chicken wings in a shallow, non-metallic dish. Pour the marinade over and toss to cover. Cover and leave to marinate for 1 to 2 hours. Do you moisten the bamboo skewers to help it draw the marinade through and into the chicken? Maybe that's what's going on. Remove the chicken from the marinade. Thread onto the skewers. Oh, no. So you're not skewering it while it's in the marinade. Remove the chicken from the marinade, then thread onto the skewers and cook on hot barbecue for 4 to 5 minutes on each side, basting it with the remaining marinade. Alternatively, cook a preheated hot grill for 4 to 5 minutes on each side, basting with the remaining marinade. I wonder what that looks like when you add the black food gel. I wonder what this is supposed to look like. Oh, the chief function of soaking the skewers is to prevent them from burning up during cooking. Non-traditional diets in Middle-earth. A vast majority of the people of Middle-earth, men, elves, and hobbits, eat a fairly conventional diet. The meat, vegetables, and grains would have gone unremarked in Europe on the Middle Ages on. A few post-medieval European staples, such as sugar and tomatoes, may be famously missing, but some are notoriously present, such as potatoes, tea, coffee, and pipeweed, tobacco. However, there are some more unusual diets in Middle-earth. Tom Bombadil and his wife Goldberry appear to be vegetarian. When they shelter Frodo, Sam, and Merry and Pippin after their ordeal in the Old Forest, they lay the table with cream, honeycomb, and white bread, butter, cheese, and milk, and green herbs and ripe berries gathered, all foods that suggest a diet of slightly hippie-ish smallholders, the produce of whose dairy and vegetable patch are supplemented by foraging. To drink, the couple offer what appears to be fresh, clear water, but whose effect is heady and merrymaking as wine. As Bombadil and Goldberry bear similarities to nature spirits, we might imagine their vegetarianism to be ethically based. They have an affinity with living things. Another ethical vegetarian is the hero Beren in the Silmarillion, who is, while living in the wild, is befriended by animals. The Ents perhaps have the most eco-friendly diet, nourished solely by the miraculous brew that consists of little more than river water. At the end of the ethical spectrum are the orcs. At the other end of the ethical spectrum are the orcs, or goblins, as they are known in The Hobbit, whose diet seems to consist largely of raw meat, including that of horses and ponies, with a rough-tasting liquor. Page 166. So that's coming. Of the kind intermittently poured down the throats of Merry and Pippin after their kidnapping. There are suggestions that the Uruk-hai, a kind of super breed of orcs, eat men's flesh. They can even practice a kind of cannibalism, dining on the flesh of their lesser kindred. Meanwhile, Gollum, that most orc-like of hobbits, supplements his raw meat diet with the occasional blind fish. He expressed disgust at the idea of cooking anything and eating grasses, herbs, and roots. He would only resort to such a repugnant thing, he tells Sam, if he were starving. As one doctor has pointed out in a carefully researched paper, both the light-shunning orcs and Gollum would have suffered from a debilitating lack of vitamin D. Maybe orcs don't need as much vitamin D. Afternoon tea. There is something quintessentially hobbitish about afternoon tea, and it's hard to imagine the rugged men of Gondor, let alone the elves of Rivendell or Lothlorien, stopping to partake in something quite so self-indulgent and absolutely delicious. That said, if Bilbo's all you'd be doing is eating all day. You'd be making food and eating all day. The entire day revolves around food, which is hobbitish, which at least begins as an afternoon tea. If anything to go by, dwarves are more than partial to cake or several, while Thorin and company's encounter with Bjorn and the Bjornings reveal him too to be a skilled baker. Beetroot tartatin with goat's cheese. Warm mushroom costini. Bilbo seed cake. Now, see this one. I see this one to me as a potential because seed cake that's specifically mentioned. So, is this a good seed cake? Does this seem like something that would actually have been in Bilbo's home? Bilbo's seed cake. Seed cake is distinctively flavored with caraway seeds. This version has a citrus spin and makes for an elegant and understated tea time treat. Any slightly stale cake left over gives you the perfect excuse to use it up in a trifle. Serves 10. Well, this is okay. It's a lot. Prep time, that's a lot of people, but prep time and cook is 1.5 hours. Ingredients: butter at room temperature, castor sugar, 3 eggs beaten, self-rising flour, teaspoon of baking powder, roughly crushed caraway seeds, grated zest of 1 large orange, and 5 to 6 tablespoons large orange juice, as well as sugar. Grease and line a loaf tin. Beat the butter and castor sugar together in a mixing bowl until pale and creamy. Gradually mix in an alternative spoonful of beaten eggs and flour until all has been added and the mixture is smooth. Stir in the baking powder, caraway seeds, orange zest, and juice to make a soft dropping consistency. Spoon the mixture into the prepared loaf tin. Spread the surface level and sprinkle with granulated sugar. Bake in a preheated oven, 160 degrees, for 1 hour, 1 hour 10 minutes until well risen. The top is cracked and golden and skewer inserted in the cream, and the center comes out clean. Leave to cook in a tin for 10 minutes and then loosen the edges and lift out of the tin using the lining paper. Transfer to a wire rack, peel off the lining paper and leave to cool. Store in an airtight tin for up to 1 week. I can go with that. That one seems reasonable. Lynn says, one wonders about their vitamin C requirements too. Humans don't biosynthesize it, but practically every other mammal on the planet does, except for the great apes and guinea pigs, for some odd reason. It seems to fit from a taste standpoint. James is talking about the citrus, but doesn't seem quite so. I've only had citrus seed cakes. I always enjoy them, but how is a hobbit getting citrus? They live well outside the climate for oranges, lemons, etc. All citrus fruits have a notoriously short life. Shipping them to Hobbiton would be virtually impossible. Lynn says, not real fond of caraway. Oddly enough, the compound that gives it its flavor is an isomer of caravon. Anything isomer of which is the main flavor component in spearmint. Oh, Sable says bats don't make vitamin C either. I would say this is a possibility. I'm going to put the seed cake over here as a possibility. Because they talk about, or maybe there's some other seed cake recipe that we can get that maybe is more something they would have in Hobbiton. But I remember from early on, the seed cake, a little cake, or a seed cake if you have it. So that one's it is very Middle Earth and very Hobbitish. At the beginning of The Hobbit, one of the unexpected visitors, Balin, a very old-looking dwarf, asks very specifically, this is called out. So if we had a good recipe for it, that would be a good one for dinner and a board game, because it is specifically called out. Bilbo has baked a couple of seed cakes only that afternoon, and so he's able to oblige, if unwillingly. His plan was to eat them for an after-supper treat. Seed cake is a style of cake that was popular in England through the Victorian era and into the 1900s, which is the period that Tolkien is fondly remembering when he describes the food of the Shire. Shortbread biscuits. Strawberry and lavender shortcake. Bjorn's twice baked cakes. Okay, let's take a look at this one. As biscotti are dry, they are traditionally served with something to dunk them in. Enjoy these honey and pistachio biscotti with strong coffee, athelas tea, or Italian style after dinner with a glass of marsala. In addition to the honey cakes Bjorn gives to... Do we have the honey cakes? I remember the honey cakes too. What was supposed to be the honey cakes? Oh no, on page 28. Oh, Bjorn's honey cakes? We've already been past that on page 28. Bjorn's honey cakes. An excellent breakfast or tea time treat. These little honeyed cakes are a good way to use up overripe bananas. In The Hobbit, Bilbo's party encounters Bjorn the Skin Changer, who, as well as being a chieftain of the Bjornings, is also, it seems, an excellent cook. Bjorn's name refers not only to his second form as a bear, the Scandinavian name Bjorn means exactly that, but also puns on his passion for keeping bees. Bears love honey. Honey cakes are a specialty of his, which he gives to Thorin and company when they host them during the quest of Erebor. He also has twice baked, or a biscuit-like version, on page 116. Bjorn's honey cakes. So this has flour, baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, unsalted butter, all these different kinds of sugar. Muscovado sugar. I don't know what that is. I really don't know what the other type of sugar is that we encountered either. 2 eggs beaten, 2 small, very ripe bananas mashed, 4 tablespoons of clear honey. 45 minutes. The seed cakes, because this is another thing that's called out, it seems like we should have it. Bjorn's honey cakes. Honey cake is one of my favorites, James says. Oh, the Bilbo right there? So Bjorn's honey cakes or Bjorn's twice baked cakes. Bjorn also gives them twice baked honey cakes for them to take on the road. We imagine these would have been a bit like biscotti or hardtack, cooked twice to make them a bit crunchier, longer lasting, and easier to carry on a journey. So this has unsalted butter, castor sugar. That's the other type of sugar that was talked about. Castor sugar, finely grated zest of 1 lemon, self-rising flour, teaspoon baking powder, tablespoon honey, egg yolk, 1 tablespoon egg white, shelled pistachio nuts, skinned and roughly chopped. Yeah, that's good. That's a great point. Go with the recipe that has fewer steps if you're going to have a lot of recipes to prepare. Because if it's just me doing it, then that's probably what I'll do. I'll just try to prepare as many of them as I can in a row. Okay, muscovado is basically brown sugar. Okay. Brown sugar we can get. The difference is that it's unrefined, so the molasses is naturally in it, not added back in after refining. So here, for the twice-baked cakes, we're beating the butter, sugar, and lemon zest into a bowl until pale and fluffy. Sift the flour and baking powder, and then add the honey, egg yolk, and whites and pistachios. Mix into a soft dough. Divide the dough into 2 pieces and shape into a sausage about 15 centimeters long. Place the pieces well spaced apart on a greased baking sheet and flatten to a depth of 1 centimeter. Bake in a preheated oven 160 degrees for 20 minutes until risen and turning pale golden. Remove from the oven and leave to cool for 10 minutes, leaving the oven on. Using a serrated knife, cut across into 1 centimeter thick slices. Return to the oven, cut sides up for a further 10 minutes to crisp up. Transfer to a wire rack to cool. Dumbledore blueberry and honey jam. Spiced plum jam, stuffed buckleberry fairy pears. Whole wheat Trickle scones? Yeah, he serves scones too. So scones seem like they need to be on this list. Serve these scones warm or cold, split and topped with the creme fraiche, or thick cream and Dumbledore, blueberry, and honey jam, or spiced plum jam. They are best eaten on the day they are made. Scones can be made, so we do need some kind of scones. So whole wheat. Because that's another thing that's deliberately called out. Serve these scones. Oh, if we said that. Scones are among the many delicious foods that Bilbo serves to Thorin and company when they stumble into Bag End at the beginning of The Hobbit. This recipe makes 14 delicious scones, enough for all 13 dwarves, plus one left over for a late wizard, and the perfect tea time treat when sliced in half and topped with heaps of cream and jam. You might choose to serve them as Bilbo did, accompanied by a big pot of piping hot coffee. What about one for Bilbo? Malted bread flour, butter, that muscovado sugar, baking powder, bicarbonate of soda, natural yogurt, 8 tablespoons of natural yogurt. That Treacle, CLE. I don't know what that is. Lynn says, scones. I can eat a ton of them, although I shouldn't. Orange cranberry scones are a favorite of mine. Good morning, TSL Frontman. This could end up being an entire day of cooking and recording if you're planning on creating a whole spread. If more than one thing is cooked in a day, it could be laid out together. Yeah, there would be leftovers. It's a treacle. Okay, it's a treacle. And what is that? I don't know what that is. I'm going to look that up. Treacle? This is any uncrystallized. See, I don't know much about cooking. Treacle is any uncrystallized syrup. Oh, made during the refining of sugar. So it's a syrup. It's like molasses. It's like a molasses analog, I think, James says. Yes. See, the reason that I got this was specifically because I don't cook, but it's just me, the 4-hour chef, because I was like, all right, we're going to have to learn how to do some cooking here. But I never really got into it. The most cooking that I ever did was when Brianna was over for the first season of Dinner of well, it was Dinner and a Board Game, but also The Cultists. And I had one of the boxes, the subscription services. I think it was Every Plate that came in, and that was great. That was really great. In fact, I saw some of our recipes over here. I really enjoyed it. So they would come with these menus and everything that was there, because that makes it easy, because everything was just there in the box so that you could cook dinner. And didn't have to worry about finding all of the ingredients and all of that. It just showed up, and then it has exactly what the recipe is here. So like this was one that I liked. In fact, I never really had a bad meal from them. They were all great. Spicy honey butter and chicken. Cream penne gratin. So actually, that's when I did the most cooking. But it doesn't make even sense for me to do that now, because it's just me here in the house. So even that, when cooking for two, that makes sense. But when it's just me, it doesn't make sense anymore. James says, those subscription meals can be awesome. We did HelloFresh and Blue Apron for a while. I forget why I did Every Plate. I think that's the one that my brother recommended. He tried them all out, HelloFresh and Blue Apron and Every Plate. And then he recommended Every Plate to me. If I had somebody else living here, I'd probably do it again. Biffer's Jam and Apple Tart. These individual open tarts look really impressive, but are easy to make. They are best served warm with a splash of cream or some creme fraiche, and they are also lovely with vanilla ice cream as a dessert. Biffer is yet another of the 13 dwarves of Thorin and company who show up unexpectedly at Bilbo's door at the beginning of The Hobbit. His request is for jam and apple tart, which Bilbo is able to quickly conjure from one of his pantries. This flan, a baked tart, uses apples and apricot jam. Ready-made puff pastry flour for dusting, 2 crisp green dessert apples, such as Granny Smith, peeled, cored, and sliced, castor sugar, unsalted butter, chilled, cream or creme fraiche to serve. For the apricot glaze, apricot jam, 2 teaspoons lemon juice, and 2 teaspoons water. Jam and apple tart. That's another one that's specifically called out. That's why it's more interesting to me. Apple and blackberry cake. Bilbo's 11th birthday cake. Let's see. Food and the elves. Then we go into dinner and supper. And then also the drinks. Actually, the drinks also interest me as well. Although I think we're going to be a bit disappointed with some of them. But I want to check those out. Because also I think making drinks for dinner and board game would work. Let's see. So we're here. So actually we are now at food and the elves. I think we'll start there tomorrow. Do another day of recipes here. Treacle is a mostly British thing as far as I know. I've never had it. That's a good looking. The apple tart is good looking. Oh, there. So it's like so it says divide the pastry into quarters. Roll each out onto the pastry. Divide pastry into quarters. Oh, it's ready-made puff pastry. Okay, so whatever that is. Make a number of shortcuts around the plate rather than drawing the knife around, which can stretch the pastry. Place the rounds on a baking sheet. Place a slightly smaller plate on each pastry round and score around the edges to form a 1 centimeter border. Prick the centers with a fork and chill for 30 minutes. Then arrange the apple slices in a circle around the pastry rounds and sprinkle with sugar. Grate the butter over the top and place in a preheated oven, 220 degrees, for 25 to 30 minutes until the pastry and apples are golden. Could be good. Len says, and now I must go and cook something. I think a hearty beef stew for tonight will do. Go and do it. TSL Frontman says, reminds me of the meme, muffins are a great way to give cakes for breakfast without anyone asking if you're okay. Yep, arms and armor and now food. All right, everybody, go make hearty beef stew. I'm going to sit here and write. I've got to finish this story. Be creative, be constructive, and cook on. That's right. Cook on. Please do like the stream. I'll see everybody later. Have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.